What's up to Lion Talk Live? So we love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Duke Crew. This is Ball Hawk Ifeatu Melifonwu of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
I love nothing more than watching Lions Talk Live every morning. Woo!
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host, once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for joining me in here today. Hey, it is Friday. It is the morning show. It is the day after maybe one of the biggest cojones moves in NFL history. And yes, if you watched last night's Thursday night football game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're a Detroit Lions fan, you've never seen anything quite like this by any stretch of the imagination. And for those who don't know, yes, I'm trying to recover my voice a little bit. It's starting to come back a little bit more and more. As you can see, it's maybe not as deep as it was, but you know what? Hey, it's still a work in progress. All right, let's get this show rolling and going because you know what? I'm sure most of you guys stayed up pretty late. It is early in the morning also, so you didn't get a lot of sleep, but you probably went to bed with thoughts of Super Bowls going throughout your head as you twickled your feet under the sheets. I don't even know where to go with this, but hey, just roll with it, okay? It's a good time to be a Detroit Lions fan. How about we all agree on that? And yes, they are 12-1 for the first time in franchise history. They've won 11 games in a row. They haven't lost in 1, 2, 3 months. Think about that. 4 weeks in a month typically, and you've got 12 straight wins or whatever it is, and man, the Lions have been dominating. The fact they pulled that off last night with their 27th string defense out there, hey, let that sink in. What Aaron Glenn, what this organization has done is just something you've never seen in the NFL. You've never even heard about something like this. At one point last night, the Lions had 7 guys out there playing defense who at some point weren't even Detroit Lions earlier in the season. So you could see some of the confusion at times. Green Bay took advantage of it over time, but you know what? Give those guys all a lot of credit for pulling through, finding a way to have the grit to win. And yeah, we're all using the grit word nowadays, but hey, Detroit Lions, if you're a fan, you couldn't be any more happy with this group if you tried. All right, let's get this going. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Trying to make that push to get to 11,600 subs, and we're 7 subs away from that. So if you can help out that would be great. Also, if you would, be so kind, reach on down, hit that thumbs up button, that like button. We try to get every video to 200-300 or more thumbs up or likes. So if you can help out with that, it is free of charge. Take a half-second time, reach on down, hit that. All right, the main topic of the day, we'll get to that, but we're going to get on over to the first segment of the day, and as you guys know, that is 5 headlines now. All right, 5 headlines now on this Victory Friday, and don't forget, Lions now have a little bit of time off. They're going to be able to get some guys some rest. My guess is everybody is doing nothing more than laying on the couch, probably playing video games and watching movies, maybe binging some TV series or something. But these guys need some rest. They're going to get some rest. After playing 4 games in 18 days, those bodies are feeling it, and they're going to feel pretty dang good knowing that one got the win and now get an extended break, almost a second bye in the season. 5 headlines now. Detroit Lions make history on Thursday, Athlon Sports. And, you know, for those who don't know, well, I guess it's my job to help keep you informed. But, hey, here we go. Detroit Lions set a franchise record. That is correct. And they did that just last night with 11 straight wins. Let that sink in. That, you know, if you've been a Lions fan for any amount of time, this is just something you've never even would have dreamt in your wildest dreams. When we started the season, and we lost to Tampa Bay in week 2. To be fair, as a content creator, I can tell you a lot of people were about ready to jump off the wagon. Some people probably did jump off the wagon, but the people were coming out talking about how the Detroit Lions weren't this, they weren't that, fire this person, why do we resign that person? You know, the Boo-Birds probably left, I would hope, some time ago. But yes, when we were 1-1, that is no longer what we are now. We are 11-1. And even in yesterday's live cast, you can see some of the frustration from fans, but it'll also take a moment of pause to think about the Detroit Lions you saw last night. Offensively, yes, they're pretty similar to what you've seen all season long. Defensively, though, if you could even tell me who half those players were without looking at the names on the back of their jerseys, just looking at their jersey numbers, you're well ahead of the curve if you could honestly do that. Because I was seeing numbers out there, I was like, I don't even know who that is. But Mitchell Guye got out there. Kudos to him. The only defensive lineman we had left who started the season, well, obviously, was Alim McNeill, and he was out of the lineup in 2 or 3 plays, something like that, to start the game. So it was about as dire a situation as you could have, and yet the Lions found a way to win. All right, real quick before I get to the next one, here you go, your final stats. Lions did win 37-31. Jordan Love, hey, what he had 3 completions at the halftime. Give Aaron Glenn a lot of credit for that. The other part of that was the Lions defense was so decimated up front. When the Green Bay Packers finally figured out maybe we should run at these guys because they are the backups to the backups to the backups to the backups, they did have some success on the ground. But throughout the game, you could see Aaron Glenn was saying, hey, we're just going to come after him. He beats us, but we can't just sit back here. And give the Lions defense a lot of credit for that. Goff, 32 out of 41 for nearly 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yes, he had the 1 pick, but you know what? If you're going to throw enough passes, you are going to throw a pick at some point. Dave Montgomery, 14 carries for 51 yards and a touchdown. Jack Campbell, 8 total tackles. So kudos to you, Captain Jack. And again, Jared Goff's on Thursday. Pressure faced. Yeah, again, when you keep him clean, he might be the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now. And yes, you can give a lot of credit to that offensive line. They did an overall pretty good job there. The running lanes weren't quite there last night, but I think a lot of that is kudos to Green Bay for watching some of the coaching film, copying a lot of the schemes that the Chicago Bears used and kind of exposed in the Lions running schemes. So you got 10 days if you're Ben Johnson to try to clean that up a bit. All right, next to the 5 headlines now. Dan Campbell's swashbuckling moves give Detroit Lions the convincing win they need. Detroit Free Press with this one. And man, if you watch that game, which I'm going to go ahead and guess and assume all of you guys did, what else can you say? You got a 4th and inches. You just had the 3rd and inches the play before, and you got stuffed. And now you're gonna make the conscious decision on 4th and inches. We're gonna go for it. Why? We know our defense is beat up. It is depleted. Brian Branch went out with cramps, confirmed from the Detroit Lions PR staff. Is it possible you'd still won? Yes. But Dan Campbell said, you know what? We've been down this road before in his history. I'm not giving you a chance to come back. We're going to go out there. We're just going to get this first down and ice the game. And that's exactly what they did. Jake Bates, Tim Patrick, Kevin Zettler, man, these guys have been money free agent additions for this team. And, DJ Reader has been too, but obviously he didn't play last night. To have the brass cojones, whatever you want to say, diamond-laden cojones that Dan Campbell had last night to make that call. And then, of course, when you watch it happen, Goff's foot gets stepped on. He's falling down as he makes the handoff. That thing could have blown up exponentially, and when the momentum would have completely shifted. But you know what? It didn't. You took it down to 2 seconds. Bates hits the field goal. We all get it from there. So kudos to Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell, for saying, yep, we're just going to go win this thing. And they did just go win this thing. All right, next to the 5 headlines now. Alim McNeill injury update. Detroit Lions defensive tackle ruled out for Packers game with head injury. Detroit News. So they did talk about it on Amazon Prime last night, but it is not a concussion. It is a head injury. Remember when he went down on the 3rd play, making that tackle on the running back? It wasn't meant to happen or something like that. Just inadvertent fire. But another Green Bay Packer fell down, landed on his head. My guess, he probably did something to his neck a little bit. I don't know. So don't take me to this, but my guess is by the next time we play in 10 days, he's probably fine and no problems at all. All right, next to the 5 headlines now. Lions grades. Jared Goff spreads ball around with precision in victory. MLive.com. Ben Raven with this one. So let's go. Let me pull on up Ben Raven, Mr. Nevermore's grades. And I didn't have time to do my own, so I'm just going to go through his. Quarterback, he gives Jared Goff an A. I get it, and I wouldn't fault him on that. I thought he was clean. He had the one bad pass. Green Bay, hey, give him credit. Sometimes the other team makes plays. That's all I'm going to say on that pick. And they did. He did have a bad pass. They did pick it off. But other than that, Jared Goff, I thought, was phenomenal. He was great. Did a great job leading this team, especially when the comeback in the fourth quarter. Goff helped tie an NFL record, hitting 6 different players for at least 5 receptions on a day when the Lions needed to protect the ball and keep their makeshift defense fresh. The quarterback was surgical once again. Goff completed 32 of 41 passes for 283 yards with 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. He was clean on the play action and as composed as ever on 3rd and 4th downs. When the Lions needed to counterpunch the Packers, Goff was steady, ready, and waiting, standing in the middle of the ring. And he did stand in the middle of a lot of blitzes there, took some pretty good shots, kept getting on up. Say what you want if you're a Goff fan or a Goff hater, but what you can say right now is this team believes in him, and I think the fan base at this point should too. And I get there are some people who are not Goff fans, maybe even haters, but it is what it is. I think Goff is more than a capable quarterback in the NFL level. Running backs, it wasn't their best showing, but sort of like we were talking about earlier in the show, Chicago kind of exposed some things. Remember, Chicago was getting ran over by the Detroit Lions offense, and they just said the heck with it. Basically, you stay in a block, you're my guy, I got a blitz, I got to get after you, and just go after it. They couldn't just let the Detroit Lions offense keep performing the way it did. They had to risk something. It did catch Ben Johnson off, and you can see where Green Bay kind of copied it. Yes, the Lions finally made some adjustments to it, and good, because they needed to. Now, was it a dominant game on the ground? No, it wasn't, but I think, Ben Raven's grade of an A- is appropriate given all the circumstances. Wide receivers, hey, it was a Tim Patrick breakout performance for him. We've been talking about how good this guy was. Yes, he didn't have any touchdowns, and then last night happened. He grabbed 2, as you guys all know, had just a phenomenal outing. Patrick had the 2 big touchdowns, adding 6 grabs for 43 yards with his first score of the season since 2021. So talk about a guy who's battled back. We always, have the mantra about Brad Holmes being Dollar General Brad. The only people he signs have injury histories. You know what? Some of them are panning out, and I get not all of them, but Tim Patrick needs a lot of love because without him the last night, we probably don't get that win. He came through in a big way, and good for that guy. Man, he's fought back from so many different adverse situations. Kudos to him. Tight end Sam Laporta, Zane Zilstra, and Brock Wright did all well. They got an A. Offensive line. So many injuries, and yes, Kevin Zeitler did go out for a couple of plays, did return, but I still think he's probably number 1 or number 2 in the NFL as far as guards. The fact the Lions were able to get him on the cheap, man, that's just impressive bargain shopping. But offensive line, A-. Defensive line, if you even knew who half the people were playing, you're a better Lions fan than 99% of us. B+, considering all the things they found out about the team and who was in, who was out, everything. Pat O'Connor, I'm going to tell you this. He might be the most unspoken about free agent pickup this season. This dude has got a motor. He splits between the guards and the tackles. He caused a lot of havoc last night. You could tell he was winded by the end of the game, and I get it. He's not used to getting those amount of snaps, but you know what? Him amongst a number of other people played their butts off, and you know what? It's why we got the win. Linebackers, again, you had Alexander out there. Kewan Alexander didn't know all the plays, and how could he? He's only been here like not even a week. And you can see when they weren't in Blitzburg mode, it caused issues for the guys who didn't know the play calls. You're asking somebody to go out there and think on the fly when they barely know the material. That's a tough ask at any level of sports, let alone the NFL level. But, hey, like I said, Kewan Alexander, Long Jr., Jamal Adams, I actually didn't think did too bad on stuff. They all did a great job, and I think the grade that they're given by Ben Raven of a B+ is pretty spot on. He also gives the secondary a B. Terrion Arnold, yes, got flagged for his 10th defensive penalty of the season. Who cares, man? He still made plays. You can't play man-to-man in this league, and perhaps you now know why so many teams do not play as much man coverage as the Detroit Lions, because you're going to get flagged. You're going to get penalties. But what they did is they limited Jordan Love. They made it tough on him. Yes, he hit a few shots, but hey, you hold someone like Jordan Love to what his stat line was, you've done a pretty good job. Special teams, they giving them an A. No, how could you not? Jake Bates is Jake Bates. Jack Fox continues to do well, and the coaching staff. If you're not giving them an A+ right now, I don't want to talk to you because yes, everybody's going to come down on Dan Campbell for what happened on the 31-yard line, but after that, man, just a great performance. All right, last of the 5 headlines now. Why Lions shootout winner with Packers ranks amongst Dan Campbell's most special. New York Times. I only put this in because it is New York Times. I'm a homer. I like the Times. But, yeah, think about all the victories he's had over his career. This has got to be, if it's not maybe number 1 or 2, it's got to be somewhere up in the top 5. All right, guys, that's it for the 5 headlines. Now we're going to go over a little bit earlier than normal and bring on our special guest of the day. You guys all know him. You love him. You probably buy some bobbleheads of him. He is Kurt the Hitman Steele. Let's bring him on right now. Kurt Steele, is that the most magical win ever in Lions history?
Man, happy Victory Friday. It was a great win. Most of us, I'm on fumes because I've only had a couple hours of sleep. I was never worried that the Lions were going to lose the game. It was just like, it was just going to be the next play. I was confident in the offense, and I was like, if it gets down to where it's a one possession game, the Lions are going to win it. And that's what happened. So, you look at this game, man, it was exhilarating. It was, and I picked it to be a shootout in the second half. I had to score a little different. I had a 38-32 Lions, 34-31 Lions, still well over you look at the game, man, I was like, what can you say about Aaron Glenn where that first half of football with those guys who were just coming off the street or you get guys in the building for like 2 or 3 weeks. I mean 2 or 3 days, and they go out there and they had that first half they had. I knew the pack was going to come back just because of the fact that you can't expect those guys to hold up the whole game. But right. For what they did in the first half, my hat's off to Aaron Glenn.
You know, you watched the game last night, like you were talking about with the defensive players, so many new guys in such short order they got out there. What did you think of some of the new guys? Long Jr., what did you think of Jamal Adams, whoever else you want to list, but how would you rate some of their performances?
Big guy, Miles Adams was the guy who stood out the most, man. Really, really good defensive tackle. And he had to play a lot of snaps because of the fact that Alim McNeill went out. He was out the whole second half. He cleared concussion protocol, but of course he had to, was out with the head injury because they probably didn't want to risk him getting a concussion, getting hit again, and having to go out of the game. So they just kept him out. But I was impressed with all those guys, man. I said it. We have a show coming up, but all those guys hit the stat sheet. Like all the new guys, the 4 new guys that came in last week hit the stat sheet for the game in some other category, like a tackle or a quarterback hit. All of them recorded a stat, and that's pretty big. Getting guys on the building. I think what Jamal Adams had 1 or 2 practices, and the rest of those guys had like 3 or something like that. And to have that, I mean, what are you going to do when you can get them a full week of practice?
Well, the Lions now have 10 days until the next game. It's easy to see it or say it's important to have that for rest, get some of the guys back. But really, in your opinion, just how monumentally important is it for the Lions, as decimated as they are on one side of the ball, to have that extra, 3 or 4 days off?
It's going to be awesome because you're going to get some guys back. I mean, probably going to get Reeder and McNeill and Levi. You can get Pascal back. You can get those guys back for those last few stretches of the season. Got a big game coming up on the 15th with the Buffalo Bills. You're going to need all hands on deck. Just because of the fact of how they play. I mean, they're kind of like, as far as except for the running quarterback, they kind of play like us. It's kind of just they do whatever it takes to win, and you're gonna need all your hands on deck to get a win in Ford Field against those guys on the 15th. So having this break is monumental for this team because they just need it. They just need the rest. I mean, having an early bye, kind of sucks because especially when you have all these injuries. But the one thing I will tell you is that, and one thing that's just being noticed is that they don't give an excuse. They really live by the mantra "next man up," and the standard's the standard. Everyone on this team is a part of the team. No one's viewed as less than because you're on a practice squad or a vet squad or whatever else they say. You're just coming out the street. The standard's a standard, and you're expected to perform at a certain level.
You know, if you're the Green Bay Packers today, and maybe to be fair, the Chicago Bears, whoever the teams we've recently played, and you see the Detroit Lions winning when they've got, I mean, not one guy left on that defensive line who started week one. They're that decimated. How demoralizing is that to you?
Oh man, that's got to be like, what can we do to beat these guys? I mean, like, between that and then what the offense can do to you, it's just like a no-win. Like, it's really a no-win situation because you're like, they're playing guys off the street. They're playing practice squad guys all at all levels of the at the least at the first two levels of the defense with the front seven. You got guys that are on practice squads and practice, pretty much it's practice squad front seven, except for a couple of guys. I mean, the only guys that played most of that game that have been long-term starters this season were Jack Campbell and Zadarius Smith. Everyone else has been either practice guy or they were second, second string or third string. So these guys aren't, but they're stepping up and they're producing. I mean, that speaks eons to what this coaching staff has done with this group of guys who they all believe, they all buy in, and they all play for each other. So, I mean, you got practice squad to hang out with. You look at this team itself; they're so tight knit. Where like they have like position groups have like game night, and you got practice squad guys over at guys who are starters or all pro level. They're all hanging out together because there's no drop off. Everyone's a part of this team, and I love the way that they approach it.
So let's talk about someone like Broderick Martin real quick. We've been wondering if this guy could play. He played quite a bit last night. Obviously, Alim McNeill's injury, he was already going to get playing time, but when McNeill goes out, he got even probably more snaps. What did you think from what you saw out of him on the field? Because there's been a lot of talk about his abilities or potential, I should say. Did you see anything positive out of him? Do you think there's reason for Lions fans to rejoice?
Good plays and bad plays. Made some plays, some plays in the run game. Got turned around a little bit on a couple of those touchdown runs by Jacobs. I think there's more time. But I think for me, to be honest with you, I think that has more to do with the Packers' offensive line than it does. They have a pretty good offensive line, especially down in that red zone. I mean, they have a really good run offense. I mean, even can't compare it to us because they only have like the one-headed monster and Jacobs, but those guys can block, and those guys and LaFleur schemes it up pretty well. So, I mean, but I saw some positive things out of Broderick Martin, and he continues to grow. I think the more snaps he gets, the better he'll be the rest of the season.
Let's also talk about Tim Patrick. We've been hearing about him. We've seen stuff here and there. Go ahead and tell me what you saw out of him last night, and what do you think this means going forward?
Timmy's the reason why the Lions did not put that claim in for Josh Reynolds. There's no need. There wasn't a need to. I mean, he finds the space. Like, he's a smart player. He finds a lot of spaces in the open, and especially when teams play zone, he just finds open spots in the coverage and just sits there and catches passes. And I mean, and he like Dan Campbell said, he turns the ball up the field. He just doesn't like catch the ball and just stand there. He turns and goes up the field. So I like his physicality. That one play that his first touchdown down in the goal line. I mean, teams aren't adjusting to him because they're still following Amon-Ra St. Brown. That was a quick snap, and when St. Brown went into motion, he went on the out route. All the defense went with him, and this left Patrick just standing there. like I don't understand that, but I like the way he plays. I like his grittiness, man. And the one thing that I love about Tim Patrick is the way he blocks in the run game, man. He lays people out. Like he puts people on their back. He pancakes guys as a receiver. So I love what he brings to the Lions offense.
Let's also talk about it'll be controversial if the Lions would have lost last night. Really, the headlines, I'm sure, across most of the national media and through Lions fans would have been the going for it on fourth down on your own 31-yard line. Dan Campbell obviously has a reputation for going for it. What do you make of it? The fact that this guy will go for it in some of the more questionable situations, but to be fair, it's also probably why you won last night.
Yeah, it is what it is. I didn't have a problem with him going for it on fourth down. I had a problem with the audible to the play call. That's what my thing was. I didn't like it when you audible to a sweep in that area.
Yeah.
Give credit where credit is due. The Packers have a pretty good run defense, and their linebackers are fast. They can't cover to save their life, but they can run side out of side and make tackles in the run game. Quay Walker can't. You can't match him up against a tight end or a wide receiver. You see what happened when they match him up against St. Brown. But you put him in the run game, that guy can fly to the ball. And I just think there was a bad audible to that play call. But as far as him going for it on fourth down, it is what it is. But that's just who he is. And I don't want him to be anyone else but Dan Campbell.
We've got just a few games left in the regular season here at this point. You're probably we'll say 2 or so weeks away from Anzalone coming back, and maybe Pascal, Onwuzurike, whoever else comes back. Going down the stretch here, now that you've pulled off a stunning 4 wins in 18 days, what do you think last night's win really kind of propels this team to potentially winning the North again and maybe getting that number 1 seed?
Yeah, I think that I think all roads go through Detroit. Even if they lose the game against Buffalo next week, they're still in the driver's seat in the NFC because that's a non-conference game, and you have the Bears coming up after that, and then the Vikings. So, I don't see the Lions losing either one of those games. Even the Bears out there in the cold, I don't see them losing that game.
Well, the good thing, like you're pointing out, the run game travels, and that's what the Lions are built around, that and a physical defense. So Bears are going through some flux, as we all know, with a new coach. They'll have some new things going on there. We'll see how they handle that. But if you're the Detroit Lions, is it the end of times if you don't get the number 1 seed in that first round bye, or do you think, man, getting that bye, that'd be massive for this team, as beat up as they may be?
Yeah. It will be a great thing for them to have that bye. You just love the fact that everything would have to come through Ford Field, and that's so hard to play there. So I would definitely want them to have the number 1 seed. Is it the end all be all? Absolutely freaking not. Just because of the fact that it is what it is. I mean, those guys have a run game. It travels. The one team I didn't talk about was San Francisco, and with all their injuries, I don't see the Lions losing to those guys either. I mean, they're the walking. People talk about how decimated we are, but we don't give them an excuse. It's just not. We don't see a bunch of whining, and we already is no war is me. They go out there and just play, and they just go out there and win. Like, what's his name over on ESPN? We talked about him today on our show because we did a recorded show today, no live show today. For all my people who looking for boss up the ball out, we're like last week. We're having our recap show today, so we won't be live this week. But Greeny's like, they can't survive another game with all these injuries, and the Packers are going to go in there and beat them. I'm like he was like talking like the Packers were going to go in and just whoop them. I'm like, okay. I mean, believe what you want to believe, but this team fights, and they fight for each other. And, I can't say that enough, man, for this coaching staff and what they do. Even Alim McNeill, somebody just put in the chat, even Alim McNeill going down, and they still went out there and won. I mean, there's just no excuse.
You look at this team now that really they've overcome perhaps the biggest, I would think, gauntlet test in their schedule, and the fact that the 4 games in 18 days. You already mentioned, hey, San Francisco. You and I talked about it in the preseason and over the summer. I think we both agreed that this might be the season where they start really showing some wear, some age from their. They have had a phenomenal run over the last 5 years, but it seems to be catching up with them. Assuming the Lions can go out there and get a win, like you said earlier, it comes down to Buffalo, Chicago, and then Minnesota left on the schedule. In the Chicago, we'll see it get out of them. San Francisco, it might be a favorable matchup. And then the Vikings, do you think there's a real opportunity for them to lose one or maybe two of these games going down the stretch before we play them in the regular season finale?
I would say probably you're looking at maybe one loss in the next stretch of games. Now, I would say the biggest challenge is going to be Buffalo. I don't think the rest of those guys, I don't think is going to be a issue. I think they're going to go out to San Francisco with a chip on their shoulder because they're still pissed off about that NFC Championship game from last year, and they're tired of hearing about the Vikings. So they're gonna put it to those guys. I mean, Goff, for what Brian Flores' defense have done, Goff he's ate up those defenses in Minnesota, where he knows what's coming. Once he gets settled in the game, they can't do all that fancy stuff where they blitz the line and all the run-ups and everything like that and stacking the box, and he just checks out of it and he just kills those guys. So
do you think
I'm not worried about Minnesota?
Okay, fair enough, man. The real quick here, then we'll get you out of here. MVP conversation, Jared Goff. Do you think he is actually in the conversation? Do you think last night helped him a little bit more because it wasn't a bad performance other than one pass, I guess?
Yeah, I think it helped him a lot just because of the fact that the reason being is because that he was able to shake off that interception, and it was a timing route, and he didn't get his head around. He just threw it on rhythm, and that's why the play was what it was. He didn't actually really set and look at Tim Patrick. He just kind of just threw it where the guy he thought he was going to be, and the defensive back just kind of ran the route and right in front of Patrick. But other than that, I mean, you look at it, he came out and threw 2 more touchdowns after that. I mean, 283 yards. I mean, the guy was just phenomenal through the game. I mean, and then for all the Dan Gamble we're talking about, 4 for 5, and 2 of them were for touchdowns.
Right. One last thing, and then time to get you out of here, and then probably get on with this thing. But if you had to pick an MVP for the defense right now, because as depleted as it is, it's still finding a way to win, who would it be from last night's game?
Captain Jack, baby. Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell is still leading the team in tackles, 8 tackles last night, quarterback hit. And I would say an honorable mention will be Zadarius Smith, man. He continues to get pressure and get sacks, and I just love what he brings to this team. I mean, no one's a substitute for Aiden Hutchinson, but he brought a level of physicality and just toughness and a spark to the defensive line.
Hutchinson, I know they did a piece on him for Amazon last night. You've had a lot of stuff in the last week continuing to talk about potentially him returning. You are seeing him walk around more. I know they mentioned the aqua tub. I guess it's down to about 50%. So he's fully supporting his own weight now in that thing. Do you really think he comes back in the playoffs?
I would say earliest NFC Championship, latest Super Bowl.
Okay. All right. Do you get him out there, you think he's starting, or is he a rotational piece?
Oh man, he's on the field. He's in the starting lineup.
Okay.
It's 97, man. If he's on the field, he's going to be starting.
Okay. I'm going to hold you to that, man, and I'm okay with it. All right, Kurt, as always, I want to thank you for coming on, and thanks for coming on a little bit earlier. Why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out to everybody where they can find you and your awesome work.
Man, make sure you come over and check us out at the Boss Up Ball Out podcast. We have our recorded show this morning. It will be a live chat at 8 o'clock. So make sure you come in and check us out. We give our recap and reaction to the game last night. We just couldn't do it last night. We were just too tired. And there's 8 million recap and reaction shows that go right after the game. So we wanted to save our reactions and continue off to work with a good show and have some fun with the recap and reaction. But next week I will be there on Monday, but I'm going on vacation. My grandbaby's fourth birthday, my youngest one. So we're having a family trip. But make sure you just come in and check us out, man. But Coach Jones and LA will be there next week in my absence. So you will have some content on that channel.
Okay. Kurt Steele, as always, man, thank you. Thank you for all you do for the Lions fandom. Thanks for hopping on the show, and thanks for hopping on a little early today.
Man, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, man. What up, though, Dude Crew? We'll see you guys shortly.
All right, we'll see you. Go join him on the Boss Up Ball Out podcast. That is Kurt the Hitman Steele. So, and check him on out. All right, Philippines, maybe they come out with the golden football roll. There could be. Scott, 198. Thanks for that, man. Thank you very much. You know what? I'll give you for that. Let me scroll up to the top of the screen and give you a 1, 2, 3. All right. I'm going to power through some of these comments, but I'm probably going to get off a little early today just to help rest my voice. It does feel much better, by the way. I feel much better, but having to coach tonight, I just want to make sure that, I don't push it too much and try to make sure over the next few days I get to do what I can to help rest it up here. And more, Coach, get some fisherman's. Yeah, I've been doing a few things. And again, I'm feeling much better. Don't feel as nasally or, head coldish, but just trying to let the larynx heal up a little bit. Let's see, Marcus, don't forget the Lions are undefeated on the road. This is true. Bill, DC has T-Rex size balls. Ocho Cinco, there you go. Chris, that was a close shave. It was indeed, but it was a good shave. Falcons Steelers fan for this weekend. Let's hope so, man. If both those teams could do us a solid, you know what? We're going to be feeling real good against Buffalo. See, Jay-Z, never bet against a Dan Campbell-led team. This is my motto for a reason. You're probably spot on with that. All right, Chris, finger red number 1. Okay. Dre Forge rocks, and he rolls. Lions Talk Live fan. Tim Patrick, finally. There you go. More Green Bay triggered. Triggered on Gibbs. They worked to shut him down. They did, man. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon with other teams. The Trim Reaper Patty Cakes was a steal. He was indeed. Lauren, glad you're getting healthy, Coach Dan. Yeah, just don't want to push the voice too much. So, yeah, I'm working on it, man. All right, see, Flathead O'Connor played awesome. Yeah, man, big shout out to that dude, man. He is playing very well amongst other people. I know Kurt Steele mentioned Miles Adam, watching the film on him. Without him out there, especially when the lean went down, our gooses might have been cooked without him and O'Connor. I'd say, woo! I'll go with that. Pound the drum. Sorry, I can't just do the actual woos today, or at least not loud. Tim, let's see, the Trim Reaper, the Tim Patrick played out of his mind. He did. Jay-Z, Goff in conversation, but still will not win versus Allen due to the scrambling quarterback difference between them. Yeah, it happens, man. Lions Talk Live fan, Strickland back. Yeah, he's on the practice squad. I was real happy about that. Trump's going for it on your own 30 when you have the lead and a quarter to play is dumb. It may be, but it is who he is, man. It is who he is. Jay-Z was at Dan now. 7 out of 8 on 4th downs versus Green Bay in 2024. Yes, indeed. Doug, start looking for the Lions compared the Kansas City wins. Lions are the real deal. They are. JP, woo! Playoffs. Heck yes, a 12-1, and in the 10th playoff again, and in the playoffs again. The Lions Talk Live fan, Z bossed out. He did indeed. I'm sure they'll be talking about that in Kurt's show here in 22 minutes. The Trim Reaper, Captain Jack missed that sack. I was bummed for him. Yeah, he's so close, man. But Jordan Love, he got out of it. Let's see, JDZ, Z Factor, just warming up. Yeah, he's been a nice addition for us. Crazy Legs Golf, I agree with that. Yeah, scrambling more and more. Trim Reaper, Trumps. I love MCDC, best coach we've had, but have some of those fourth down calls are dumb. Okay. If Hutch comes back, he's rotational. Might be. Kim, all the fourth down naysayers are not MCDC, and there's a reason this team fights to the last breath. They play hard for the coach, makes the difference. I just don't just like the play, but the players trust them. Yeah, the players are all bottom. All right, guys, I'm not going to push my voice too much today. I'm going to give it a little bit of rest, so I'm going to end the show a little bit early today. Sorry for that. If there is breaking news today, I'll get it to you, but it'll be probably like a 5-minute video, nothing too long. For the next few days, since the Lions aren't playing, I'll still do the shows, but I'm just going to try to take it a little bit easier on my voice. Hope you have a great day. Like I said, if there's breaking news, I'll get it to you as quick as possible. If you would be so kind, hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button. Other than that, have a great day. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. We'll see you all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.
Excuse me, sir. Would you?
Donations to the Reverend Moon.
Jews for Jesus.
Read about Jehovah's Witness. How about Buddhism? Help Jerry's kids. Oh, yeah. Scientology.
Or nuclear power.